The Jeep Wrangler is almost like the automotive equivalent of a Starbucks. You see these things everywhere, and they're available in a wide variety of flavors, and you can customize it to your exact liking, kind of like that latte that you had earlier this morning. Now, the one flavor that has been missing in the Wrangler family has been a diesel-powered version, and for 2020, Jeep is finally answering the cries from enthusiasts for a diesel-powered Wrangler. This is the all-new 2020 Wrangler Unlimited EcoDiesel, equipped with the same 3-liter turbo diesel V6 that we get in the Ram 1500. This makes 260 horsepower and a stump-pulling 442 pound-feet of torque. The EPA also says you'll get up to 25 mpg combined, which makes the Wrangler EcoDiesel the most powerful and most fuel-efficient Wrangler that Jeep has ever produced. So the big question I want answered, is the all-new 2020 Wrangler EcoDiesel the engine that enthusiasts have been yearning for? That's what we're here to find out. Now, the JL Wrangler came out about 2 years ago, and this has been a huge success for Jeep. They consistently move over 250,000 of these in this country every year. And I've shown you guys a few videos of this truck over the last 2 years. I've shown you the Sport, the Rubicon with the e-torque engine, and of course, the Gladiator, which should be getting the diesel engine apparently next year. Now, first, starting off with underneath the hood, because in this video, I'm going to focus primarily on the diesel engine option. Now, this engine is available only on the unlimited version, and anybody can come and open up the hood just like every other Wrangler. There's a prop rod here that comes down, but once you finally open up the hood, you can see there it is. There's that beauty of an engine. This is the 3rd generation of the 3-liter turbo diesel V6 that we find in the Ram 1500. This engine is built by VM Motori. I'm probably mispronouncing it, but it's an Italian-built engine. And like I said, it's the 3rd generation. It makes 260 horsepower and 442 pound-feet of torque. This engine is essentially the same engine that's in the Ram, but Jeep had to make a few modifications to this thing for Jeep duty. They've relocated the injection system and the alternator, so this thing still has the 30 inches of water fording capability, so they've relocated so it doesn't actually get in the way. And the Wrangler EcoDiesel gets a surprisingly decent numbers for the EPA, 22 in the city and 29 on the highway. I'll be honest, I was a little disappointed they didn't break the 30 mpg mark, but remember, the Wrangler is basically a brick, and because this thing is a Jeep, which has removable doors, removable roof and everything, Jeep had to add a little bit more sound deadening materials into this thing because they wanted to make it a little bit more refined, but they also wanted to preserve the diesel clatter noise. You're gonna know this thing is a diesel every time you start it up. It sounds exactly like a diesel, and it pulls like a diesel, so I'll talk about that later on in the driving scene. Now, because the diesel engine is a lot heavier, this thing weighs a lot more than a regular Wrangler. As this one sits, this Sahara trim that I'm showing you weighs around 4,800 pounds. And then, of course, all EcoDiesels are equipped with the part-time 4-wheel drive system. If you are looking for an automatic full-time 4-wheel drive system that's available on the V6, it is not available on the EcoDiesel. And this thing, surprisingly, does not tow anymore because that's limited by the chassis. All Wranglers are still equipped to tow around 3,500 pounds. And unfortunately, if you guys are also looking for a manual transmission, it is not available on the EcoDiesel. All of them will be paired with an 8-speed TorqueFlite automatic transmission. Now, the JL Wrangler was all new for 2018, so there are no new styling changes this year for 2020. It doesn't really need it. This particular one here that I'm showing you is the Sahara trim, so it's more of the comfort, luxury-oriented model. I actually think it looks really good, especially in this bright yellow color. Jeep calls it Hella Yellow, which is a weird name for a yellow color, but let me know in the comments below if you like the way this thing looks. It certainly gets a lot of attention out there when you're driving it. This particular one here has the optional full LED upgrades. As you can see, it's got LED daytime running lights, LED turn signals, LED low and high beams. The Sahara trim also includes kind of these silver painted slats in the 7-slotted grille. You've got a plastic bumper here, which definitely looks a little bit cheap. Remember, if you guys get the Rubicon trim, Jeep will also offer you that steel bumper group, which makes this thing a little bit more rugged, a little bit more capable, and you can also have a winch installed at the front if you guys want that capability. Now, looking at it from the side profile, if you guys want the EcoDiesel, it's only available on the unlimited trim. Jeep says because most people buy the EcoDiesel or buy a Wrangler in the 4-door version, this is about 2 feet longer in wheelbase and length versus the standard 2-door, which because this thing outsells it, Jeep is expecting the take rate to be relatively low. which is why they wanted to keep the build complexity a little bit low as well, considering that most people buy the unlimited version. Now, the Sahara trim comes with these 18-inch wheels, which also look fairly nice. I like the polished two-tone look. They also offer an optional wheel with like 6 spokes if you guys want that. I also like how Jeep has replaced these street tires that you find at the dealership with these all-terrain Bridgestone Dweller tires. I think this is an easy change that a lot of owners are going to do. It makes the truck look a little bit more aggressive. The Sahara version has around 10 inches of ground clearance. It's about an inch less than what you're going to get in the Rubicon. And the diesel engine itself, because it's heavier, Jeep had to adjust the suspension. It now has 10% stiffer front and rear dampers, its own unique dampers as well. So the ride is a little bit firmer, which we'll talk about later on in the test drive. And then the diesel version, of course, has the diesel exhaust fluid. So when you open up the fuel tank area here, you'll find obviously a green fuel filler cap. And then there's a little blue cap here for the DEF fluid. This is, of course, all has to do with emissions. The EcoDiesels will come with a 5.1 gallon capacity for the DEF fluid. Jeep says that you basically have to refill the fluid every 10,000 miles. So every time you go in for an oil change, you'll basically go to the dealer and they'll refill the fluid for you. My tester also has the dual top group. So it has the black painted or the unpainted hard top, which also comes with the soft top, obviously the spare tire at the back. And then your only indication that this is a diesel beside the noise is this subtle little badge back here, which isn't even a badge. It's a freaking sticker that says EcoDiesel. So I kind of wish that Jeep had done a little bit better there to make this thing stand out more. I mean, it just seems like an afterthought to me. And then underneath here, you're gonna notice a couple of extra skid plates. That is for the DEF fluid, of course, for it to not get damaged when you're off-roading. And then there's the single exhaust tip. You guys are probably wondering, so let's fire up that diesel engine and see how it sounds. Now, as you can hear, it definitely sounds like a diesel whether you're sitting at the back of the vehicle or you're sitting at the front. It has that traditional diesel clatter. Remember, this engine upgrade is $4,000 more, so some people want to know that you basically bought the diesel engine. Now, opening up the cargo area here, you can see the unlimited version definitely is more practical when it comes to this aspect. You get around 32 cubic feet of space with the seats up. If you fold everything down, Jeep says you get around 72 cubic feet of space, which is a lot. I actually think it seems like too good to be true in terms of the amount of space, but remember those seats, if you get them out of the way, this is basically a big box, so the Wrangler is a very practical vehicle, which is why they've only put the diesel option in the 4-door unlimited configuration. So if you guys are looking for a more comprehensive overview of the interior of the new JL Wrangler, be sure to click on the links in the description below and watch one of my other videos, because for this one, I'm just going to briefly talk about the differences on this Sahara trim, because Jeep hasn't really made any changes to the interior for the EcoDiesel model. Now, obviously this one here with the yellow exterior has the black leather interior. That's a $1,500 upcharge. You can also option in a beige leather. My tester also has a few options on it. It has the safety tech group, so it's got adaptive cruise control and automatic emergency braking, but no lane keep assist. It has the larger 8.4-inch Uconnect head unit display with navigation. That's again like another $1,000 upcharge. It also includes the upgraded sound system, which sounds pretty good as well. It also includes things like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So in terms of tech, this is where Jeep has really stepped up the game for the all-new JL Wrangler. My tester is annoyingly missing a cold weather group, and in the middle of winter, I would have really appreciated a heated steering wheel and heated seats and heated back seats. For $1,000 extra, you may as well add that. Now, moving over to the rear seat, you can see the unlimited model offers around 38 inches of legroom. That's about 4 inches of more legroom versus the 2-door, so it's pretty easy to see why Jeep has this particular version outsell the 2-door model. But if you guys plan to do some serious off-roading, the 2-door is the better suited option. But overall, the interior is very much the same JL Wrangler that we love in all the other engine configurations. So the new JL Wrangler really proved to consumers and enthusiasts that you could have a traditional truck-based SUV that could do off-road things and not come with a compromise with, you know, driving this thing on road. Because let's be honest, most people who buy a Wrangler, I'd probably say the majority of the people who buy these primarily drive it on the road, so it needs to be a good road car. And the Sahara trim is that good trim to do it in, because it doesn't come with the knobby wheels and tires. It's a little bit more comfort oriented versus the Rubicon version. And I was really impressed with the orange Rubicon that I had back in the summertime that had the e-torque 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. So the diesel motor I've been really excited to drive. Literally, you can hear the dieseliness right from the start. Just at idle, you can hear the clatter. Actually, I've got a Chevy Silverado HD with the Duramax diesel, and I have to admit, this Jeep's 3-liter EcoDiesel actually is a little bit louder and more diesel-y versus the Chevy's V8 diesel. But it's got, obviously less sound deadening material, but it has more sound deadening material than a regular Wrangler. So let's get this out on the road. I've babbled enough about this engine. Put our foot down. And just like I expected from a diesel engine, lots of off-the-line power. This is just stupid amounts of power for a Wrangler. Ooh. And curvy roads are not the Wrangler's forte for sure, because it has, remember, a recirculating ball type steering for off-roading. But the Wrangler has such refined on-road driving dynamics, this new version. The diesel engine basically is all the same, but you really hear that diesel clatter. It's a very raw sounding engine with lots of diesel noise. And you know what? That can either be a good or a bad thing. Some of you may not like that. I am noticing the steering wheel actually vibrates. At idle, you can feel the engine sending vibrations back into the steering wheel, into the pedals, into the cabin. And for those of you who like that visceral experience, you're going to love that. For those of you expecting this to be more of a refined diesel, you may find it to be disappointing, and you probably should stick with the eTorque 4-cylinder or the eTorque V6 as well. But I'm just genuinely impressed. This is one fast SUV, and in fact, I suspect it'll break the 7-second mark, 0 to 60. So let's try it from a stop here. There is no sport mode or anything like that. There is a manual mode. I'm just gonna leave the 8-speed automatic to do its own business. Turn off the start-stop. And maybe we'll brake torque it a little bit. Ooh. So much torque. And I forgot this thing is rear drive when you don't have it in 4-wheel drive, and you heard the back tires spun a little bit when I brake torqued this thing. But yeah, it feels like it'll get to 60 in under 7 seconds. Between 6.5 to 6.8 seems attainable. This is one impressive driving Wrangler, but really it'll remind you when you start going around a corner that you don't want to be pushing this thing too fast. I'm not going to go too far down the road because I don't enjoy taking corners in this thing. It feels top heavy and tipsy. Now, I do want to talk about the ride quality because this thing has stiffer bushings versus the regular ones, about 10% stiffer, its own unique damping system. It does have a firmer ride quality than I remembered, even the Rubicon model. The ride quality is not harsh by any means, but you do notice this is a firmer ride quality. And visibility out of this thing is actually good as well. I mean, it's a box, so you basically have this nearly upright windshield. Big side mirrors. My tester has blind spot monitoring. It has adaptive cruise control from that tech package, the safety tech package, automatic braking, but it does not have lane keep assist, which makes sense because the steering in this car, look at it, is really loosey-goosey and slow, but it's designed to be that way for off-roading. Obviously, you don't want to be having direct, quick ratio steering when you're off-roading, and because it's also a recirculating ball type steering wheel. But overall, the seats are much more comfortable in this generation. The ride quality is agreeable. The space in here is plentiful. There's a reason why Jeep sells, over 250,000 of these in America every year, because it is a really great car to daily drive. It has those tough looks on the outside. You can actually take it off-road. It has incredible resale value. The Wrangler is it has the best resale value in the segment. And there's a reason why people buy these things new and they end up selling it used a few years later after they've maintained it and they've kept it in good shape and mostly stock, and they can actually retain most of their value on this thing. It's an impressive car. It's something that I would actually personally consider owning myself, and I think a lot of people would really appreciate the diesel engine option for its increased grunt. Not the most refined engine, but with the additional torque. Oh, Jesus. This thing will put a smile on your face constantly. So even though there's no manual transmission available for the diesel, I don't miss it that much because this 8-speed auto by ZF is just smooth, responsive, puts the engine in the meat of its power band. And you're going to have a ball driving this thing. So I imagine a lot of off-roaders who are planning to you know, change out the tires, raise the suspension, the diesel option is a great option for you because Wranglers and low-end torque is perfect. And really, I'm finding very little faults with this car aside from the fact that the price is just outrageous for the diesel engine. Fuel economy is also another area I want to briefly talk about. The trip computer is saying just around 23 mpg. Now, granted, I have been driving the car more enthusiastically. When Jeep first dropped this car off, it actually showed 26 mpg. So I imagine those of you who are a little bit more cautious or conservative with your right foot should be able to get closer to the 30 mpg mark. I mean, I will be honest, I was a little disappointed that it wasn't over 30 mpg. Like, I was expecting this thing to get 35 mpg, but remember, the Wrangler is heavier. The diesel version's heavier by 400 pounds. It still has the aerodynamic efficiency of a brick. So there's only so much they can do to tweak the fuel economy, make it better, which it's about 4 mpg better combined versus the e-torque 4-cylinder turbo, which was the Wrangler got the best mpg before. So obviously now the diesel gets the best mpg and it has the best acceleration. So it's kind of a win-win situation with the EcoDiesel as long as you can pony up for the extra cost. So now that I've driven all 3 engine options for the JL Wrangler, from the base Pentastar V6 to the 2-liter turbocharged e-torque 4-cylinder engine to, of course, this 3-liter turbo diesel V6 that they call the EcoDiesel, I can comfortably say that my engine of choice is obviously the diesel powertrain. I mean, with 260 horsepower, which basically matches that of V6, and 442 pound-feet of torque, this is just a stupid amount of torque that makes the Wrangler EcoDiesel comical. Every time you put your foot down, this thing will take off in a way that really will surprise you. 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds. This thing should be able to keep up with a lot of hot hatches like a Volkswagen GTI, a Civic Si. This thing is fast and it'll surprise a lot of people. Now, the diesel engine noise, I actually learned to like it. At first, I didn't like how it vibrated the steering wheel. I didn't like how you could constantly hear the clattering noise because remember, even though Jeep added more sound deadening materials, it's still a Jeep. You can still take off all these roof panels, you can take off the doors. So there's only so much refinement that Jeep can add to something like the Wrangler. But I think if you're gonna pay $4,000 extra for the EcoDiesel engine, I think you're gonna want to hear that noise besides just feeling the torque that this thing offers constantly. Now, coming to the price of this vehicle, this is where I have a huge problem with the Wrangler EcoDiesel, because if you guys want a Wrangler, they started under $30,000, like 29 grand for a base sport. The EcoDiesel itself costs $4,000 extra, which that also requires you to add the mandatory $2,000 for the automatic. So that's $6,000 total. And because you can only get it in the Unlimited itself is a couple grand more than the base version. So the cheapest EcoDiesel Wrangler you can buy is just under $40,000. Now, this Sahara trim is going to be around $45,000 once you add in the EcoDiesel version. This one here with a couple of options on it, the upgraded 8.4-inch Uconnect head unit, the upgraded leather on the inside, the safety tech group, so it has the adaptive cruise control. Frustratingly, it's still missing heated seats in the front and the rear and a heated steering wheel for another $1,000. This particular one here stickers for about $55,000, which is actually the same price as that orange e-torque 2-liter that I drove a couple months ago back in the summertime. So surprisingly, I was surprised that it wasn't more expensive, but keep in mind, if you guys option up this in a Rubicon trim with basically everything, you can top out an EcoDiesel Wrangler at around $65,000, which is just ridiculous. However, as you guys know with Wranglers, these trucks essentially keep their value very well, and a lot of people buy these things and really make money on them in a couple of years because they do hold their value really well. And I suspect the EcoDiesel model will be the best Wrangler yet in terms of resale value. So with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this 2020 Jeep Wrangler EcoDiesel. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.